Get up really close to the screen. What you're about to see contains graphic scenes of treadmills, screaming trainers, and questionable science. Parental discretion is strongly advised. To add further warning, this review also contains extreme weigh-ins, unrealistic expectations, and traces of common sense. Okay, all kidding aside, if you haven't figured it out by now, in this video I'm doing a review on the latest docu-series on Netflix called Fit for TV, The Reality of the Biggest Loser. And believe me when I tell you, I have a lot to say about this, but I'm going to try to keep it as brief as I can. First things first, the biggest losers on the show were not the contestants. The biggest losers were the producers and those idiot trainers too. And one of the trainers was a bigger idiot than the other trainer, and I'll get to those in a second. Overall, this docuseries goes well into the weeds and the muck in exposing the Biggest Loser television show for what it was, which is absolutely garbage. Now, the docuseries itself is not garbage. And the show itself, that was on for I think 18 seasons, I used to watch every now and then, especially near the end of the season, at the very end of each episode. And the reason I didn't watch the season, any of them, all of them actually, was because it looked so fake it made me sick to my stomach. And it had the two trainers to back it up. Both of which, mind you, I did some research on a while ago. I'm not sure either one of them even had a certification, let alone a degree in exercise or fitness. They were in the right place at the right time, they got lucky, they came on camera, they blew away the producers, and they got themselves a spot. And then they rode off into the sunset making millions of dollars. And I'm just being honest, I'm not being bitter. I tell it like it is. Remember, I'm Killer K-Rail, I'm Kevin David Rail. I tell things like they are. And I'm just giving you the straight dope. Now, as far as the documentary goes itself, if you have an hour and say 30 or 40 minutes to kill, I highly suggest you see it. I highly suggest you watch it. It's in 3 segments that are about 40 to 42 minutes each, which I absolutely love that format. You don't have to sit there for 2.5 hours through a snooze fest. Here are some key points that you want to take into consideration when you watch the docuseries. Just like I predicted years ago and thought, these producers created this show and this concept based off of an ad on a piece of paper that one of the producers saw when he was walking into the gym. A guy put a paper up, a flyer or something like that, and said, "Please help me. I am 100 and some pounds overweight. I'm obese. I have no energy. My health is going down. I'm in really bad shape and I need somebody's help. I need someone to guide me. I need some accountability." Now, me being a health coach, I would see that and I would call the guy instantly and say, "I can get you where you want to be safely and over a period of time. I can be your motivator. I can be your inspiration. I can be your health guide. I can help you with fitness, fasting, diet, all of it, sleep, you name it, lifestyle, in a safe and humanitarian way." But this producer had other thoughts. Doing things safe and doing things cool and doing things by the book doesn't create ratings, according to him. So what does he do? He goes and talks to his other producer friend. They come up with this show called The Biggest Loser, and then they start putting ads out. I believe for the first show they had 500 to 1,000 people audition for the show. They narrowed it down to whoever many they had, and then off to the races they went. But they wanted to have this edge. They just had to do it. So they went and they recruited Bob Harper and Jillian Michaels. So they come in as the fake trainers. They said, ham it up as much as possible, make them puke, make them sick, do all these different things. Don't worry, we have a doctor on board. I believe his name is Dr. Huizenga, if I'm not mistaken. Now this guy seemed legitimate on the show. He used to be the doctor for the Los Angeles Raiders. And again, he had connections and he was in the right place at the right time. He became the doctor that was behind the scenes. The problem is, he was constantly jaw-jacking with the trainers. They wouldn't listen to him, and they wouldn't take his advice. And they were told by the producers to be as mean as you can, make these people cry, make them sick, make them fall. I mean, these people were 250 to 300 pounds overweight, and they had them doing sprints on a treadmill, they had them exercising 6 to 8 hours a day, making them burn 6,000 to 8,000 calories a day. That is ridiculous. It is an absolute miracle that more of these people didn't get sick or didn't get injured. And this Dr. Huizenga guy was telling the trainers when he did talk to them, he wanted the contestants to eat between 1,200 and 1,500 calories, I believe. And the trainers didn't listen to a word he said. They were having the contestants eat 800 calories or less. And the guy, one of the guys that won on, I don't remember what season it was, 7 or 8, he was saying that he didn't eat anything for the last 5 days of the show to try to cut as much weight as he possibly could. That's called fasting. That's my world. They weren't doing fasting. They were doing starvation. That's a whole different world. That's a whole different ball game. That is very dangerous and just plain stupid. That is the Wild Wild West at its best. And that's not how I roll. And what really makes me mad about this show is the fact that these people that were obese really thought they were coming on the show to improve their health. And that's what they wanted, that's what they expected. And you really got a good idea of where their heart and soul was coming from. And their intentions were really good. And I literally felt bad for them. In fact, I teared up a couple times when I heard their stories. It made me so angry that people that are obese have to deal with stuff like this. They already get fat shamed as it is. They already have a hard time getting into airplanes, getting in and out of cars. They know all the obstacles. I know obese people myself, and my heart goes out to them. They don't want to be that way. They seriously want help, and they thought that's what they were getting when they went on the show. But instead, they had two nitwit trainers yelling and screaming at them constantly while they're on treadmills, while they're swinging kettlebells with egregious form, I might add, and doing these crazy challenges. And one of the challenges was a table full of food, and they'd have all the contestants go in there, and I'm talking cake, cookies, baked goods, pizza, nachos platters, burgers, fries, hot dogs, you name it. It was mounted on this table. And they had them do this eating challenge for 5 minutes to see who could eat the most food, and whoever ate the most food got to go home and visit their family. And then at the end of the week, they still were required to burn X amount of calories and lose X amount of weight. That's just plain insanity. This is all exposed on the docuseries. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Someone almost nearly died on the show on day one. Her name was Tracy, I believe. They had them come to a beach to start the show off, the episode, and run a mile. And some of these people probably haven't exercised in years, but run a mile? I'm amazed that was even allowed to happen. By the time she got near the finish line, she collapsed in the sand, and she ended up having to be air flighted out of there. After some further tests were done, she had this condition called rhabdomyolysis. I know about rhabdomyolysis really well, not because I've ever had it, but because when CrossFit was in its heyday, maybe 5 or 6 years into its popularity trend, let's call it a fad because it's going to fade out eventually, there were people getting rhabdomyolysis left and right. This is a very serious condition where your muscle starts breaking down and it creates a very toxic substance in your system. It then goes through the liver. The liver has to work really hard to break it down, and it can do irreversible damage to the liver and kidneys. And if she had gone any farther, any harder, she would have had permanent damage. Somehow she made it through, and then she begged to be on the show. Because again, her heart was in the right place, and she just wanted to make changes, and she wanted help with supposedly experts. She didn't win the show, but she ended up making it on, and she lost a modest amount of weight. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. Good old Jillian Michaels there did two really bad things, amongst the other things she already did. But two things stuck out to me. One of which is she started feeding the contestants caffeine pills, which she actually admitted on public television, which they talk about in the docuseries. And then they go into extreme detail on just how much there was, but they kept showing Stacker 2, I think it was, or some kind of pill. I remember Stacker 2 being popular back around early 2000s, and people were using it all the time. It was a thermogenic pill that had this stuff called mahwang in it and ephedra. And if you remember correctly, ephedra became banned by the government, and it's no longer in existence that I know of. But back then, it was a little bit of free floating. None of these drugs were supposed to be used when they were on the show. However, she was giving them to them to try to boost their weight loss, boost their energy, and all these other things. Now, those things are dangerous for the average person, for a lean person, for a skinny person, for a moderately sized person. But when you start giving them to people who are obese, whose heart already has to work harder to carry the weight they have, just do the math on that one. It puts someone at severe risk. And she did it without a care in the world. Absolutely atrocious. Then later on, as the seasons went on, Bob Harper, one of the trainers, ended up having a heart attack. I don't know if you heard about that. You probably have. And I remember when that made major news. And although I never liked the guy, at least he was interviewed on the docuseries, and he had some good things to say. And it seemed like he did have somewhat of a good heart somewhere inside that body of his. And I felt really bad when I heard he had a heart attack, and he got a lot of well wishes from former contestants, current contestants, the producers. But guess what? He sat there and stared in front of the camera. One of the producers of the docuseries asked him, "It looked like you and Jillian were pretty close during the show. What did she say to you after you had the heart attack?" And he kind of put his head down and he looked around. Guess what? She never even reached out to him. That's because Jillian Michaels cares about only one person, and it's Jillian Michaels. And she proved it very well right there. And at the very end of the documentary, words came up on the screen and it said, "Jillian Michaels refused to be interviewed for this docuseries." I don't even know what she's doing now. I think she was a guest on a podcast a few years ago. It's the last time I seen or heard from her. And I remember she came out with this absolutely horrendous kettlebell program a while back that had videos to it and stuff. And I remember her doing a swing, and it was the most grotesque looking thing I've ever seen in my life. Her head was coming down. She was swinging away behind her. Her shoulders were coming down. It was going way up in the air. It looked like a third grader just picked up a kettlebell and tried to swing it. All right, I'm done talking about her. Now let's talk about the after effect. This is critically important. They interviewed a bunch of the contestants 6 to 9 months after leaving the show. And guess what they found out? The exact thing that I found out. They gained all the weight back with interest, most of which gained more weight. They specifically had a sample of 18 people that they interviewed afterward or talked to. 16 of them, yes, a whopping 16, gained all the weight back, and some of them gained more weight. And you want to know why that is? This is why. Because when you go on a show like that and you go hardcore for say 30 days in a row or more, or however long they're on the show, months in a row, and you're burning 6,000 to 8,000 calories a day and you're losing like 15 pounds a week average, and that is the unrealistic theory. That's the fat weight loss, the magic pill, the magic bullet theory. It doesn't work. Because just think of what they're doing when they go back home. They would need to continue doing what they were just doing. Exercise for 6 to 8 hours a day. Eat 1,200 or 800 calories a day. Live a lifestyle that is absolutely unrealistic. And they would have to do that every single day. If they even go back home and work out an hour a day and just eat normal meals 3 times a day, say, they're not gonna be burning 6,000 calories a day anymore. They might burn 1,000 calories, and the weight is gonna slowly creep up and slowly creep up. And then what's gonna happen? A month is gonna go by. They're gonna gain 10 pounds. Their once happy mood when they're on the show at the end, when they lost all that weight, is gonna start to go down. They're gonna start to get depressed. They're gonna start to get anxious. They're gonna start to get mad because they're putting weight back on. And before you know it, they go back to the old habits and they start saying, F it. They throw caution to the wind and the weight starts piling back on. And they end up right where they started. And they interviewed some of those people that were on the show who lost a ton of weight, who gained it all back. And again, my heart bled for them. The bottom line message is this. My name is Kevin David Rail. I am a health coach. I'm a fitness nutrition specialist. I'm a barefoot specialist. I'm a motivator and an inspiration to many people. I've been doing this for a long time. I do things safely. I try to shake people up. I try to create awareness. And I try to do what's right for my fellow man and woman. If you are obese and you're looking for coaching or you're looking for training, look me up. I have your back. I know I may sometimes come off as this hard-nosed militant guy, but I'm just a truth teller. I want to do what's best for you, and I want you to do what's best for you. And taking a path like that is not what's best for you. If you want to sit back and watch really good documentaries, I would suggest the documentary called Fasting. I would suggest The Motivation Factor. And I would definitely suggest Fit for TV, The Reality of the Biggest Loser. But I'd watch them in that order. Actually, it doesn't matter what order you watch them in. But after watching Fit for TV, The Reality of the Biggest Loser, you'll get a lot of motivation by watching Fasting and The Motivation Factor. I promise you that. Okay, I think that's about all I have to say about this documentary, about the show The Biggest Loser. Just remember that the biggest losers were not the contestants on the show. To me, they were the winners. And the biggest losers were the people behind the camera and the ones that were shouting at the contestants. All right, that's a wrap. Make sure to like and share this video. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so yet. And hit that little bell indicator to always be informed when I come out with a cool video. Till next time, this is Kevin David Rail reporting live.